So we can go ahead and get started with this. So the first thing that I want to do is open up in Visual Studio Code, and we're going to create and scaffold the new project. So to do that, the first thing I want to do is do we need to create the project. So to create it, we do a ng new, and we're going to call it OpenDJRadio. Let it scaffold out. It's called Hungry Hungry Zombies. Would you like to add Angular routing? Yes, we would. And just standard CSS. Haven't used Visual Studio Code, says Wishtaker OG. Are you liking it over VS Studio? They have different use cases. So VS Studio is really good with like a full C# project, and VS Code is really good for Angular and smaller text style editing projects. So I really like VS Code. I use it all day in my regular 8.5. I just started using Sass, says Mean Vessel. Don't think I'll ever go back. Okay, we can do a directory in here. We can open up OpenDJRadio, and we can start the app by doing an ng serve open. They work really well together, to be honest. I just wish they didn't call it Visual Studio Code, and I just wish they called it code. So we're going to let it build here. And here's our app served and ready to go. So the first component that I want to add in here is a YouTube component. So if I look over here at my YouTube in GitHub, VS is really nice. I like it over VS Studio. Are you guys still getting your votes in here? Did it break? No. Oh, no, there it is. So there, you got a word, a letter in that word. Okay, so what I want to look at is not this one, it's this one. And we have API samples in here, and we want to look at our player. So what I'm going to do is let's open up my event listeners HTML. And let's create our first component here. So to do this, I want to create a new ng generate service called YouTube. Okay, and additionally, I want to do an ng generate component called YouTube. We'll bring our service into the YouTube component. And now, what I want to do in my YouTube service is I'm going to have something called a player, which will be anything. And I want to do it looks like I have something in here called, that I'm using reframe.js. It's a JavaScript plugin that makes unresponsive elements responsive. So to use this, if I look back here at my app, I should have in event listeners these player.stop video, player.pause video. So we don't necessarily know what type this is, but what I do know is that I want to have a, say, load video, which will pass in a video ID and a string, and it's going to be returning void. And in this function, I want to do this player.load video by ID, and we want to do a video ID. Right here. We also have a stop video and a get content. So I want to say a cue video, which will be a video ID again, which will be a string. And we were going to do this with a this.player.cue video by ID, which is video ID. Right here. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to have another one in here called play video, which will play the video that we have queued, like that. We're also going to have a stop, which will do this .player.stop video. And then a seek, which we're going to do as a seek to time as a number, which will be in a void here, and it's going to be a this.player.seek to time. And then we have a set volume, which is going to be a volume, which is a number. And in this, it'll be a void to be volume. We want to have a mute function. Just make sure there, meme vessel, that your vote gets in. You'll need to revote for A there. Okay. And in mute, we want this to just do a this.player.mute. We're going to need to have an unmute, which is a void. And we want to have a player state, which is a let state as a player state, and we want to set that equal to this.player.getPlayerState. And we can save a variable here. This thing needs to have its import statement. And we're actually going to declare a enumerator for this called export enum player state, which will be an unstarted, which will be a -1, a ended, which will be a 0, plain, which will be a 1, a pause, which will be a 2, a buffering, which will be a 3, and a queued, which will be a 5. So it definitely could be hunger. H, F, S, and N all received 1 vote. So the votes over here on the left of this is not working correctly, but that's something we can fix later. Additionally, in my player, we have a number of these enumerators, but we also want to do something where we're going to set the player here. So we need to have a function here called setPlayer, where we're going to pass in player any, and we'll call this a void like this, and we'll do this.player equals player. And that should do it for our service. And now in my YouTube component.html, we're going to change this so it's a div with the class is equal to a column 4, first a little bootstrap to get it started. And then we want to add in here a new YouTube component, right? And this will show no. We want this YouTube component to be on my app component.html. And a router outlet. So for the router, we need to look at the app routing module, and I need to add in a path here. Where is that? I don't see router in my project over here. It's in a different one called appmodule.ts. So in here under routes, we want to declare a new path, which we're going to call YouTube, and it's going to be a new component called YouTube component. So it looks like that this update over here, if you look on screen, this is not updating correctly. So that's something we can fix. But now we have our path here for YouTube. And I need to make sure also that I bring it into my YouTube module here. Like that. Also, it looks like I need to have here something called declarations, which needs to have the app component on it, the YouTube component on it. Let me double check here my Tower of Heroes project. Come on, why won't you drag? That we created yesterday. And if I look here at my source for the app, we're going to add in here so we don't need this anymore. It doesn't look like declarations is required anymore. We do want to have a path here, which is my default path, which will redirect to YouTube. And we want to do this as a path match full. Okay. If I look here at my app component, now I'm going to have the title of the page here, which we'll call title. And then I want to have a navigation in here, which we're going to have my router links. And this one's going to be a YouTube. Like that, with our router outlet. Could be gamer. I think it's hunger myself. Additionally, when I look at my YouTube component, here, my app component, I need to make sure that my title is set here. So we're going to add in here a new title called OpenDJRadio. Hey there, Roo Killer, greetings. And that should be good. And now, when I look at my YouTube component.html, we need to add in here some snippets. So I'm going to do a input here, a ng model. Okay, so an input box here called search snippet. And we're going to have a placeholder called enter search criteria. Enter search keywords like that. And we also want to have another one called input ng model for the amount of currency called quantity wagered. Placeholder equals wager amount. Are you using tests with Angular? I'm not using tests at the moment. I'm just here to play with the bot. Alrighty, let me know how the game works for you. It's the first day that we have it live. Okay, the next thing is that we need to have a button in here with a click event called request song. And then we might as well have a couple of these. One in here called skip for skip song. One here which just says add to playlist, which will be called add to default playlist. And then a player state, which will be a get player state. Easy enough. And in my TypeScript for YouTube component, we need to have a couple of different pieces. We needed to have these terms, search snippet, which is a string, a quantity wagered, which was a number. We have a new chat service in this that I'm importing. Okay, so we want to have a function in here called this thing needs to have a private YouTube service called YouTube service. And then we wanted to have a onReady of the player. We want to do a this.YouTubeService.setPlayer with the player and false. No false here yet. I don't know, click worked. Isn't it click? Where did I do that? Thank you. So we need to add in these functions here. The first one that I had was, we want this to be of type any. We're going to have something here called request song, which will be a void, and we want to say that we're going to make a new, well, I need to make an interface in here called a new class called interfaces.ts, and in this I want to say a new interface called isongqueued create request, which is going to have a search snippet, which is a string, and a quantity wagered. I don't care about that yet. So here, we're going to create a new request, like that, and we want to pass in the search snippet, which is this dot search snippet. Okay. We also want to have in here now this. Well, we'll just start with that. Okay. We have a player state, which will be returning a void. Any votes remaining here? Last round on this word. So this is going to be a void, and we want to say the var state is equal to this.YouTubeService.getPlayerState. I also have a, where is that follow animation? Why didn't we see that follow animation? We should get that corrected. Who was that? Nesachi, thank you so much there for that follow. Appreciate it. If you have any questions on what I'm working on, feel free to pop them into the chat. We got an active and supportive community. Thank you for being a part. I want to look for the follow animation. Let me add in another browser source here called follow animation 2. And we can test it over here. Like this. There we go. The word was Alger, whatever that word is. So the difficulty index was set pretty high, obviously. Okay? But when you guys are ready, we can start another game. Just let me know when you're ready. Okay. Alger. It's an author. Why did it give me an author? What a dumb word. Should have made that easier. I want to play Mario Kart Twitch game. What is a Mario Kart Twitch game? Tell me more about it. Okay. So now we can see what we've got by doing an ng serve open. I have no idea what it is. And here's our app now. And when I look here, it's going to say it doesn't have ng model since it isn't a known property of input. Why wouldn't it find that? Oh, have you imported Forms module and App module? Thank you. So in App module, we need to import in here Forms module. Which is right here. And now it's working. So here's our YouTube state, and we currently don't have any state defined. Now, I need to have in here a chat service, which is going to connect to Signal R, but I need to first get my chat to show up. So I think I need to reframe it now. So let's try that. What I want to do is on ng-init, we need to get a video ID. So we can go to youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And we can take a look at this video here and get the video URL, which is this. So I want to do a on ready. We're going to set the player, and then we want to do a YouTube service.load video, which will be this string, and then we want to do a YouTube service.play. Okay, so onReady is never firing. So over here in my YouTube component.html, we're going to add in here a new div class equals column4. And we're going to say YouTube component, because in this YouTube component, I want to bring in a video ID. Let's just say that a function, when it's ready, will do onReady, and we'll pass in the event like that. Well, it's not going to let me do a component of itself. So we need to get the video to display. So if I look back here at the HTML, I don't see where I'm having the video. Just a second. Here we go. We need to, here in my app component, we're going to make a new component here called ng generate component called home. Oh, where did the zombie and the flower go? That's interesting. Okay, so in my home component, I want to look at my app routing module, and we're going to add in here a new default route which redirects to home, and then any path will redirect you to home. And then we also want to have another one of these components here, which is called home, and it's going to pass in my home component. Okay, so now on my app routing module, we want to add in a new one here called home, which will be home. And now, I wonder where the flower and the zombie went. Looks like I got a little bit of bugging to fix here. Okay. And so now that I have that, where did it go? In my home component, we're going to say here the new app-YouTube component. And we'll do an ng serve open. And here we go. Home and YouTube are taking me to the same location. Okay. It's sending me to the router link, which should be sending me as a default to home, which sends me to app YouTube. There we go. Okay. So the next one is, I think we need to have an auth service in here. So if we look back at my picture, here, we need to have a auth service that goes from this to this. And there's no connection from YouTube there. Oops. Okay. We're working on getting the auth up. I can't show this part on stream, so we're actually out of time for the day. But we'll be back in the morning, 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be picking up where we left off, and we'll have the auth working. So the next steps is that we're going to be launching the ASP.NET Core Web API, hooking it up with SignalR, hooking it up using Entity Framework to a SQL Server, and then connecting that across the pipe. We're not going to be using the Angular built-in HTTP requests so much. We're going to be using the SignalR. So thanks again for staying with me, guys. I appreciate the support today, and I will see you in the morning. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.